you, gentlemen. My time's expired.
Thanks, Senator Reed. Next is Senator Chambliss.
Thanks, Senator Lieberman. Gentlemen, first of all, thanks for your service. General Allen, particularly, you've picked up right where General Petraeus left off, and we thank you for that, the kind of leadership that you provided over there, and please express to those troops that serve under you how much we appreciate their service.
I will do that, sir. Thank you.
Just following up on what Senator Reed was talking about with respect to night raids, having been in Afghanistan a number of times, having visited with some of those troops, particularly Afghan troops, who are carrying out those night raids in a very professional way and in a way which has minimized even the risk of civilian casualties. It's pretty important, a pretty important part of our process as we move towards ultimately achieving the victory there. I'm really concerned about this potential shift to a warrant-based approach. And General Allen, my question to you is, will that shift increase the possibility of civilian casualties and our ability to fix and finish the target?
An important question, sir. And I believe, Senator, that if we do this right, it will not impede either the operations nor will it increase civilian casualties. As I presume you understand, we're at about 2,400 operations, special operations a year. This last year, we had about 2,200 night operations. Of those 2,200 or so night operations, 90% of them we didn't fire a shot. On more than 50% of them, we got the targeted individual, and 30% more we got the next associate of that individual as well. So 83% roughly of the night operations, we got either the primary target or an associate. In all of those night operations, even with 10% where we fired a shot, there was less than 1.5% civilian casualties. Now, I don't diminish any civilian casualties by reducing it to a percentage point. Every one of those is tragic. But after 9,200 night operations, 27 people were killed or wounded in night operations. That would argue for the power of night operations preserving life and reducing civilian casualties in all other kinds of operations than necessarily being a risk of creating additional civilian casualties. That's in my mind, sir, as we go through the process of negotiating an outcome for the Afghanization, if you will, of night operations.
Those are very impressive statistics, and unfortunately, they're not reported in the Afghan press. They seem to only highlight the negative aspects, which, as you just stated, are very, very few. With regard to Afghan-Taliban reconciliation, the administration has made a conscious decision to overtly seek reconciliation with the Taliban, and part of that action on the part of the administration has been to offer up 5 Gitmo detainees who are Taliban, who've been identified by the Taliban themselves as the 5 that they would like to have released as a show of good faith, according to the administration, that the United States is serious about negotiations regarding reconciliation. Personally, I am offended by any negotiations with terrorists who are killing our men and women, but beside that, I am really offended that there would be some conversation about releasing 5 of the meanest, nastiest killers in the world to the Taliban as a show of good faith, particularly to have them housed in a country where our experience has not been very good, and they're retaining the individuals that have been previously released to them. Now, I understand that the negotiations now, Dr. Miller, have moved to the Department of Defense from the State Department. I think that's a wise decision. I understand also from comments made by Secretary Panetta yesterday that these transfers are now on hold because, as some of us suspected, The administration does not have confidence that the Qatar government is going to be capable of living up to the requirements and conditions that we put on them for these 5 individuals. My question to both of you is, do you think that the release of these 5 individuals to the Taliban, even under the conditions that are being discussed, is a wise move when you consider the rate of recidivism that we know now to be about 27%, and when we particularly know that these are 5 leaders of the Taliban who have previously been declared to be too dangerous to be released and are likely to re-enter the fight? Dr. Miller, I'd like your comments, please.
Senator Chambliss, the Department of Defense and Secretary Panetta support the process of reconciliation, our efforts to support an Afghan-led reconciliation. We are doing that with eyes wide open and understanding the nature of the individuals that are involved, working closely with the State Department and others to see how we can assist the Afghans. Let me say explicitly, sir, that no decisions have been made on the possible transfer of detainees. And as you know, the law requires the Secretary of Defense, with the concurrence of the Secretary of State, to certify to Congress that the necessary security measures and assurances are in place before any transfer can occur. And we are in absolute agreement that these assurances must be in place before anything can go forward. But as I said, no decision to do so has been taken.
General Allen, you have any comment on that issue?
I think as long, sir, as the Secretary, in accordance with law, as Dr. Miller said, can certify that they will not become recidivists, there is the break potentially on the process. And I support the Secretary's view in that regard, sir.
General Allen, in previous hearings, you have noted that one of the greatest shortages you saw in our fight in Afghanistan were, and I quote, air asset support, both rotary and fixed wing, and an increased requirement for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms equipped with signals intelligence and full motion video. You also remarked that intelligence analysts and associated systems were also necessary to properly exploit the data collected. Do you believe that since we last had a conversation about this, that you're getting the kind of support from DOD and the intelligence community in terms of prioritizing and acquiring those assets?
I think we are in better shape than we were before, Senator, and we're very grateful, actually, for that support. And General Mattis and the Department, and of course the resources that have been made available through the Air Force and from the Congress, have helped to improve that situation, sir. To include even the arrival of hyperspectral capabilities in the theater has been very helpful to us, and that arrival is most welcome.
Great. Well, thanks again for your commitment and for the commitment of your family.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Senator Chambliss. I'm privileged to be occupying the chair while Senator Levin had to go to the floor. I just take the liberty to say very briefly that I share Senator